Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, it's the Korean Fir. So this guy here, the Korean Fir, is part of the conifer family and part of about 50 trees in this species of tree. And I have been planting some fir trees at a Christmas tree farm, friends of the family. My son works out at the tree farm every fall, winter. And I've been experimenting with some firs, balsam fir, Fraser fir, I got Korean fir, a Canaan fir, and also some red and white pines. And this guy is the Korean fir, so one of the firs. Has a really nice wide nabari down here, but some wild roots, so we're gonna have to work on those over the next couple of years. This was its first repot, and this was a tree actually that was purchased from the supplier who supplies this tree farm about a 5-year stage. This is about a 5-year-old tree at the time, so it's about 6 years old now. And I gave it a little bit of movement with some wire last year and took the wire off, and I cut off the leader last year and a half ago or so, and I just let it grow completely this year. Now typically springtime is a really good time to prune the fir from my research, and if you prune it early enough after the first push of growth, it is reported that you can get a second push of growth with this Korean fir. One of the unique characteristics of the fir is the bottom of the fir has kind of a white, chalky, pasty look to it. So sometimes if the branches are flipped the other way around, the top gets most of the photosynthesis, the bottom is kind of a white, chalky area. You get kind of a little bit different color. I've even seen some trees on the internet where the tree almost you can have some of the little grayish blue puffs around. It almost looks like a light coating of frost on the tree. Super cool. I thought it was a very, very neat feature of the tree. So I'm trying and experimenting on the Korean fir. What I would like to do today is wire the tree. We're in early fall, and I'm going to wire the tree, leave it on all winter long, and watch the spring push to make sure I'm not cutting into the tree. The fir has a very soft bark, and will show some marks fairly easy compared to some of the other pines that are out there. And in time, with age, even down here at the bottom of this tree, the bark is starting to get a little rough, but it's real smooth up in here and super smooth in the younger parts of the branches. So hopefully with time we'll get a little bit more gnarly bark as well. So I'm going to wire this up today and do some pruning of it to get rid of wherever there's 3, we're going to go down to 2. There's 4, we'll go down to 2. So we're going to do some initial styling on this tree, and then the energy is collecting all this fall, and it'll be ready to push out in the springtime. And then I'll wire it after we're done doing some pruning. So we're going to take a couple of spins of the tree and see what's next. Right there is the proposed front of the tree. This back of the tree has some nice new growth here. This is all mostly new this year, especially down in here. And this might have been just a little nub the first year I had it. But some nice growth here, gives it some depth if it keeps growing out. Nice new branches, and those will hopefully thicken up. We got our primary branch here that will kind of swoop down here. And as these firs get older, very bendable branches, mind you. But when these get older, these will bend down in nature. You look at some firs that are 40, 50, 60 feet tall, you're going to have a lot of that downward feel. So we're going to do that today and get it all wired down. This is my primary branch, and then I've got a real skinny one up here before these 2 thick ones come in. All these are thicker, so we're gonna kind of balance it out a little bit today too by making some of these cuts, so hopefully we get some better growth. So as you can see from your front there, we do have a nice every other pattern here, but thicker on top. We want this one here to maybe thicken up. And there's 2 young buds back there that took off this year, but so slightly. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with trimming up some of these guys. And we're going to start at the bottom of this tree and work up today. I did notice earlier upon close inspection that there is some adventitious budding throughout a lot of these branches where I know I can cut to, and hopefully we'll have some decent push out next year. The growth for this year, these 3 branches right here, and mainly this growth right here, that right there. So there, that one right there is 3 that will cut down to 2. But let's go ahead and start with this branch right here. So as I'm looking at this branch, I've got an every other pattern, really, really nice till out to about here. Every other branch till we get out here. And we're gonna bring this in a little bit. This is very thick in here. And if we look right here, where we split out wide here, and it starts to bifurcate right here, go into 2, and then 2 out here. We've got this young one right here. We've even got a couple of small buds right there trying to do some growing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches all right here. Now these 2 are super tiny. Don't know how well they'll do next year, but this one right here is really nice. So what I could do is cut both of these great big branches off and support this one right here for next year, and it'll probably split here. See if I can see any adventitious budding. I don't see any on this one. We'd leave it here and hopefully get some splitting next year. So let me bring that branch down. And if this is the front of the tree, I got to keep in mind what's looking right out at us, and if I can maybe bend this tree this way and then bend it this way, we've got some nice movement to the branch. But this back here is not doing a whole lot for us, but this might come too much at us. So I think I'm going to cut the one that's right at us, and we're going to cut that one entirely off, because then I can move this branch over here and place the wire in there. And then this one does split nicely into 2, but it gets really way out here. We want to bring this compact in, so I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut this one here for direction and make it go this way. It naturally goes that way. And then when we wire this down and around, I can maybe bring this over here, or maybe even just cut it and have these 2 right here as the split. And I think that's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and cut that off. Now we have the split right here, 1, 2. And these 2 are a little long, so I'm going to look for some adventitious budding back here. I don't see any back budding on this long branch or this one. That's very clear. Couple of, yeah, nothing real clear. There's one on this big one right here. Let's get a close-up of this back bud right here so I can show you what I mean. So right in here, this is where I'm proposing the split is on this branch. So this is the new growth from this year, and this is the older branch. I cut this new branch off. We might get a couple of buds that could shoot right there, but let me show you the 2 buds. We have a bud right there, we have a bud right there. So let me twist the branch a little bit. Right there, and we have a bud right there. There's our adventitious budding. So we know this has potential to bud out. So when we wire this down and around and make some movement, that could do some splitting there. Somewhere in here we can get some splitting for next year's growing season. So back out wide, here's the tree we're working on. We already cut off about this much length. So then we're going to have to go shorter down to make this look more like a conical shape. Now these other branches unfortunately do not have any adventitious buds that I can see. So I'm a little leery of cutting anything here, so we're just going to leave those alone for the rest of this year, and we'll see what happens in the spring as this tree pushes out buds. Now we want this one to grow out long and bushy for some thickening of the trunk. That's always a good thing, so I'm not afraid of leaving all that greenery there. And I have nice gaps here for my wire, so we'll wire that up later. You also can see in the front here, we have a back bud way down here. That's not going to be in a good position for us right now. We're going to go ahead and cut that one off right there. We don't need that little bud right there. It's in the crotch of that tree, and it'll just get lost. I won't touch any of these young buds back here. Although maybe this one, because it's exactly opposite of this guy right here. But it's in the back of the tree. There's no bulge on the tree yet, so I'm just gonna wait and see how healthy we get the tree next year. The tree is one of my healthiest trees. The firs typically like a little bit of shade, so if you have a balsam fir, a Fraser fir, this Korean fir, they do tend to like a little bit more shade and not direct sun all day long. Also, like many pines, we don't water this fir real heavy saturated watering every single day. It's a much lighter watering schedule with these firs. They don't like to be overly dry and they don't like to be overly wet, but I've always erred on the side of drier, and because it's in the shade more, it doesn't dry out as fast as the full sun trees, so you have to be careful with the watering of these firs. So that's branch number one. We're gonna go ahead and leave that one alone and leave this one alone. That brings us up to this guy right here. Now this guy, as you're looking at the tree, is the second step. We have your left and then your right. And this branch is going to be pulled down here, right? And so as I look at the branch, so we've got this thick old part of the branch here that either broke off or was cut off, and then it comes and turns this way. I'm going to go ahead and cut it right there. And this can become its new leader, right? We've got some movement now naturally in this tree from the trunk out towards me and out this way. But then this guy is super, super long. But then let's look for some adventitious budding for me to cut back to. Let's take off the glasses and look on the way back here. And sure enough, there we have one right there. So the adventitious bud is right here. So harder to see from way back there. But if I pull back some of these right by my thumb there, if I can zoom up in post-production, there's a bud right there. So we are going to shorten this guy a few needles above that bud, and we just shorten that up just a little bit. Let's look at this guy. Any adventitious buds on this one? No, I don't. I see one. See, this is all last year's growth, and they could bud out here again next year. And there's two that look like they're so tiny, I don't know that that's a bud. But we're going to go ahead and shorten it to this one and hope that it buds back out there next year. And if I happen to lose that branch, I've got these two right next to each other and they will be fine to go our every other. Pluck off a couple of old needles here and we're all set to wire this guy up for a little bit later. Now I do have this little leggy one right here with two growths, a nice split here, but again it's way out here. And I have two adventitious buds here, so let's go ahead and cut that shorter right now. We're just going to cut that split off because I've got two places, boom, boom, three buds actually on this one. I've got a section of three buds here that we can cut back to. So here's the branch we're working with right now. Okay, and we've got a little tiny bud right there. We got a little tiny bud right there above the chopstick, and down below here, there's one right there above the chopstick. So we got boom, 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 three buds that are set and ready to go for next year. So again, from the front, we did the first branch, we just did the second branch, and I cut this one shorter because I knew I had three buds right there. And as I look at this guy closer, yeah, we cut to this bud right here. We'll hope it'll back bud even more. So we have the first one and two branches done. Now these two are growing from the same plane and this one's awfully close. But I can tell you right from the onset, if we look real close up here, look what's happening right here. Here's a branch that's going straight up in the air. We're going to cut that one off. Take a peek at that one. Yeah, that one had three adventitious buds on there, so that's a bummer that it was growing straight up in the air. But now we can move this one down here and have a little bit of movement. This is growing towards the camera, but we can adjust that later. So we've got boom, boom, boom. We got three branches, almost the same spot. These two for sure. Let's turn it to the back. Look at these two guys. There's kind of your T-bar right there, right? And if that's the front of my tree though, I really love this guy. This one's a little bit smaller and spindlier. This one's super thick and looking nice. So this one should be thinner than this, so should this one, and it basically is. It's kind of going to the back too. And look at the new growth on this one right here. So if I cut this tree way back to here, I could get some more growth back here to push some depth of field on that branch, and it also might not get much thicker as fast, and we don't want it to get too thick too fast. But let's do this first, right here. This is kind of long and leggy. Can we cut it back to 2 at least? So here's the division, 1, 2, 3. There's 3 branches. And this one comes towards the camera and is super long. So we're gonna cut it right there and cut that long length off. And we can manipulate this one with a wire. And let's see where our buds might be. This is a weak branch on this side, not too thick. I don't want to cut it shorter. And this one, I'm having a tough time finding that bud. Oh, here it is right here. See, it's right where that growth from 2 years ago. So we're gonna go ahead and cut it right here. That was the growth from 2 years ago. And now we can put this branch down here and keep it for 1 more year. Unless I decide to cut it off here in a few minutes, we'll see, because it's opposite of this guy. So now let's go to that one and see what we can do with that one. So this one has another branch growing straight up. Let's get rid of this one right here. See this one? That's gone. Now we've got some back budding right here. Look, boom, boom, boom. 3 branches right there that are starting. So we got this long, and now this long one right here, it's the back of the tree. There's the look. See, it's the back of the tree, but look how long there. It's got to be shorter than these guys, right? These are supposed to be the long ones. So we got to really see what we can do to cut this back. And there's some adventitious buds for us right there. So I'm not going to do the zoom up on this one. You'll have to trust me. Maybe I can zoom up in post, but we've got a bud right there and there. We're going to, and at the tip right there, we're cutting that off. We got bud, bud, bud. And here we got a branch right there. Not only a bud, but a branch, and a branch right there. If we cut all of this off right there, we've got this nice thick tree branch that could grow back next year right here. And we'll wire this one down as well. It's a great branch in the back right there. You see this one? Gives it some nice depth. We can bring it down a little bit after this one right here. We've got some nice branching there. All right. So, boom, boom. Boom, boom. And now we got the next one right here. That's a little bit higher yet. Now our dilemma is, do we cut this one off here? There's another little one here. This is growing at us. It's blocking the trunk, but I don't mind that right now. I'm gonna leave it. But what's blocking this down here is this branch in the back going way back. We're gonna cut that whole thing off. So now I cut it down to this 2 split, where then it splits into 2 right here. And let's see if I have any back budding there. Adventitious buds I'm not seeing, but I am gonna cut off this little stub right here. And there is adventitious budding here. Boom, 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 3 of them. I'll cut to there to be safe. I think I might wanna cut back to this one anyway. I think I will. I'm gonna cut back to this one because we've got this branch right here. So now this one's super long, and I see adventitious buds right here. There are 2 buds right by my scissors and finger here, and 1 above it. So 1, 2, 3. So we just made this super short, and next year those buds will push out and we'll get some nice growth hopefully, and we'll be able to wire this down pretty nicely. All right. So the bushy tree is getting a lot thinner. Now we go up to this next branch. We have to get smaller and smaller at the top here. So what are we gonna do with this guy? We're gonna look for adventitious buds or new branching. And all of this growth is lovely, but it's too long of a branch, so we're gonna cut it off right there to begin with. We already have to cut it shorter than this one. It's gotta be shorter than this one. So if this is down here, we even spin it out this way a little bit. This is gonna come down here. It's just barely shorter, right? And we have a branch here and a branch back here. I could go back even further and make this the new leader right here. And because this branch is a little thicker than the ones below it, I am gonna do that. I'm gonna cut another inch off. And now this could be twisted right here, and this could become the new leader right there. And we got some nice little movement here. But now, because that's so short, I gotta look at these guys. And I'm gonna cut back to the node on that one. I'm gonna cut back to the node on that one. I'm going to cut back to the node on this one, and the node on this one. Now, this branch has another branch growing right below it. So maybe I don't even keep this thick branch. If we want thick on the bottom and thinner on top, this branch is too thick. Look, you see how thick this branch is right here? And look, right below it is a new branch coming out. Now from the front, it's growing more to the front, but we can manipulate this later. let's go ahead and cut the big one off. Let's be bold. Then we just cut that big one off for this guy right here, which has 1, 2, 3, and there's 3 tips at the butt of this one, 3 buds, and 2 buds within that branch. This branch is a strong new contender for a new branch, bringing everything more compact. And this will heal. That's a nice branch. And we'll get a little bit of wire on that too, maybe, and just bring it over here a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, because if this one doesn't make it, it's kind of spindly with these 2 back buds back here. If this one doesn't make it, this will have to cover its place. So that's good that it's there. I think this back one is still a little too big. I'm going to go to the next branch. All right. Now this guy. So you're looking at the front. This comes right out at us, but not in a horrible way. And if we were to bend this branch a little bit and maybe make some movement, but there's a nice new bud back here. There's a bud right here on the big branch, right here. Here's a bud right by the scissor tip here. That's a bud. So if I cut this back pretty aggressively and it doesn't grow back, we have a chance of that back budding right there, which is super nice to have. Now the other thing about this branch up here, look at how this branch has to be smaller than this branch down here, and I've got this guy right here. Got that guy right there. Let's just cut that big one off to size right there. And again, we'll get some movement in here and protect that bud. And now you've got this really long, leggy one that's in the back. We're going to cut that down where we can maybe see some, well, at least there to the node. And we'll hope to get some more back budding here on this inner node back here. So we'll leave it there in case we get some dye back to here, and we'll have some back budding in here. And it's in the back more. This one's in the back, so it's not as obnoxious. And when we wire it, we can also kind of tuck it around a little bit maybe. So we left our great big one down here, and we haven't messed with any of these branches. We're hoping this one really thickens up for the first primary branch, looking really nice. Then we've got these to contend with. Again, we might cut one of these off. This brand new one, this guy here, now we're coming up to this one. And that one, unfortunately, is really coming right out at us. So that's where wire is going to be really nice. We're going to maybe swing this one around. And again, super flexible branches on these firs. So let's move this one forward, right? Yeah. So if we move that one forward, we've got this guy with some really nice adventitious buds right there. There's a bud right there. And a potential little tiny bud right back there. This is all too much tree, so look, we're gonna cut that off. And now this coming down here can be turned this way a little bit, and we have our branch. Back here, we got a little tiny bud, 2 of them, right here at this inner node. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that right there. So this one's bigger than this here though. This branch right here, I got a whole bunch of nice buds on this one right here. See if I can see that a little closer. And again, if you're looking at the front of the tree, this will be brought this way. It's too long, so we can cut it here. So I cut the big one off here. This will become the new leader over here, and we'll see how this back buds in the new year. So that brings that one a little bit shorter. Now I got this one up here and this long one back here. It's kind of in the back. We got a whole slew of buds back here. Let's show you these buds. So look at the beautiful growth of this branch. Here's the underside that's all white and pasty. And here is the green side, the top. Look at that division. Boom, 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 boom. All kinds of division on that one. That's all got to come off though because it's too big. And the reason why I can do that is look at back here. Look back here. I've got a bud right here. I've got a bud right there. I've got this branch right here. And I've got a bud back over here by my finger back here. 1, 2, 3, and then that branch plus this long one here. We can cut all of this off right here. So this is the branch we were looking at up close. And we need to take all of this luscious green off, right? Here's the bottom side, kind of that pasty blue, gray. All of this is gonna come off right there. without even question. That's gonna come off. Now, do I keep this long one? I don't think I have to, because I got this little one growing. And then, as we were up close, I showed you the 1, 2, 3 buds. 1, 2, 3 buds. So I might not even need that guy in the end, but we're gonna leave that one on. Now this branch is thicker than I'd like, so is this one. So that's why all of this reduction, we're trying to get that conical shape, right? We got that shape that's gonna kind of go like this. And it's shorter on top and wider on the bottom, and this will grow out. But we don't want those tops to be too thick, okay? So now we have to figure out what to do with the second to last branch, and then we're at the tip. So this guy, as you're looking at the tree from the front, has this one that's not growing straight up. So here's your front view. This is not straight up. And quite frankly, if I cut all that off, there's movement in this branch. But I'm gonna cut it off at least to there. But you know what? It's the tip of the tree. We're gonna cut it off right there. And I just cut that above another branch that's trying to grow, plus an adventitious bud right here. So we have a bud, a little branch, and this big branch. We'll see how this does next year. We'll bend it down with some wire just a little bit so it grows more down. Just a little bit, we'll see. Because now we just have this tip. So this was my major chop of the tree. It was growing this way. I cut it off. I've got some nice movement here, and then it kind of goes back down on the trunk, so I like the nice movement of this tree. But this is a little harsh right now. But what's it gonna do next? Well, I've got a back bud trying to grow right down here, straight down. I've got a branch under here. I got this thick branch right here. That's growing in the back. I got the one coming out this way. So this is where I wonder if I bring the tree up and around and then bring it down. You know, a tree doesn't grow that way, right? This way. But do I make this the new leader and wire it up a little bit? This is where my artistic part of bonsai, I still don't know what to do with the tips of trees. But this has a lot of growing to do. So all next year, this is gonna go poof and grow super big and bushy, hopefully, right? Just like it did this year. We're gonna want all this to grow. The tip can come later in its life. It doesn't have to be finalized tonight. But I often wonder what to do with some of these branches to make it, give it that kind of pointy conical shape, like right here. So when people look at it, they see kind of that pointy shape right here. I do know it's at least that much too big. I see all kinds of adventitious buds on that one. This one I do not, so we're gonna cut it down to here because this one has adventitious budding. So again, my definition of an adventitious bud is one you can see popping out already. It's ready to come on and go. We're gonna go down to 2 here instead of 3. We're gonna cut this one off right there. Here we got 2 coming out here. So that's what I'll do. I'll leave these branches here. This will be the new tip. This will come down here. This will come down here, and this kind of becomes the new leader. And we'll just kind of see how we can wire that one up. Now we can cut some more branches as we see fit. And we're gonna see if we can move some of these branches in a way to make this look a little bit more old and majestic with a little bit of more weight and age looking because the branches are going down. We'll get a couple of these going down a little bit further than they are. Maybe this one a little bit too. Maybe a tad on this one. And then we'll kind of bring this one up here. We'll see. We'll see how we twist that one about. So there's the first trim. Let's get some wire out. The beautiful orange sun is starting to set in the west, and we don't have a lot of light left, but I think we can get some wire on this tree. So my dilemma is, do I try to use some copper wire to practice with my copper wiring? I think I'm gonna say no. These branches are super flexible, and so aluminum wire will do just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead with the aluminum wire on this to wire up this tree. So when I wire a tree, I'm always going to take my wire, get about 4 to 6 inches, and I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to see if I can bend the wire, or bend the branch. And if I can bend the branch without the wire, this is thick enough. This is a thick enough gauge. So this one is thick enough. I could go one smaller, but that might be a little too weak. So again, if I grab this branch and I try to move it with this wire, it won't move here as well, but it moves there just fine. I think I'm going to use this one. And if it's not quite thick enough, not quite enough hold, we can always go ahead and we can put a second wire on. Now, the general rule of thumb with wiring from all the experts that I've listened to and watched and had the privilege to work next to or near or watch on fellow YouTubers is that we're going to connect a branch from this side to this side for some anchor here in the middle, trying to get branches that are about similar size. So this one right here and this one right here are okay. This one's a little bit closer to this one up here, but I don't want to go from here to here and then have to do these. So we'll do these two branches. We've got plenty of wire there, and we'll go ahead and we'll get the first wire on this tree. Now, this tree isn't going to be in a show, but I still want to do the best wiring I can so it looks pretty decent. And I don't want to affect these branches in the back. Again, you're looking at the front right here. So what I'm going to do though, is I'm going to bring this from the back around here, and I'm going to support the bottom of this branch right here by coming under here and starting with the wrap. We want the wire to go around in as uniform amount of space as possible. People talk about 45 degrees, 60 degrees, all these degrees. This is just to move this branch in the direction that we want it to go. And this is a little too thin to wire, so I'm going to stop right there. As you can see, I used a little too much wire. But I'll save this for recycled pieces for later. So there's the first wire job on that one. Now this one has to come up here. So we're going to go ahead and wrap around the tree, and we're going to try to come under this one as well so we don't snap this branch right off. So it's got a decent support there at the bottom. We'll wrap around. Now when I'm wiring, I'm pinching with my left hand and I'm wrapping with my right. And I always hold the wire further away from the tree than I think some people in the early days think. If the closer you get to the tree, it's harder to wire. You just gotta kind of, once you get used to it, of course, you just crank the wire around, twist it around, and you get more comfortable, and you're able to put it in its place. Like everything else, of course, it comes with practice. And so we've got that here. Now, the thing you have to be careful with the firs, the Korean fir, is that the underside is that blue color, pasty color, and it won't photosynthesize as well, I believe, as the green tops. So we don't want to twist these branches like we can with some trees. We want to lay them out flat, and so the right area grows. So let's set our main branch first. So I want to support again the branch here. And this branch right here, here's the curve of the wire is going this way. It's going around the branch. It's going around the branch this way, so that's where the bend is going to be. Like right here, if this was the wire going around the tree, we're going to bend it this way so the wire kind of supports where it's cracking there, right? And so we're going to kind of make that first bend right there and brought it towards us and down. All I did is towards us and down a little bit. Let's go a little bit further. And then here's the next wire, or I can do this one. I think I'll come to the second one and bring it back this way. So now I have some subtle movement this way, this way, and this way. Not much. I think we might try to get a little bit more in here. So there you can see the bend a little bit more with how I left the tree going. Now as you see, as I move this tree, this one kind of now is fighting with this one. So we'll see how these grow next year, and we'll cut them accordingly next year. I could put some wire on these as well, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to do the main structure of the tree up to the tip. I'm not going to worry about these secondary branches because they're so thin. I could loop it around with some loose coils and move them into shape. I'll see if I can do that tonight or maybe tomorrow, because again, we're losing light awfully fast. Let's move this one down. So again, this black wire wraps around right there, so that's where I brought it down. I'm gonna bring it down some more. Now I'm gonna bring it curving this way, and then back this way, to end like that. Brings this branch up here, this one over here, these down here. So upon inspection, this one's much lower than this one. Let's get this one down even more. This one's a bigger branch and it wants to come back up. There we go. Now I have this one going down a little bit more. And this one's coming down too. All right. So I think I will wire these two together in the back, and then I'll wire these two together in the more front. So we're gonna do that. So we put these in place, not quite as low as these, but enough to get some nice little movement into those branches. Just subtle, subtle and simple. Now we got these two. This one is a new, younger branch. I'm just gonna leave it alone this year, so let's get this one going. So after wiring that one, this one pops out right at us, but I'm going to leave it alone for new growth, and this is that real strong branch that we can wire this way later on. There's a branch back here that's really super long now. I could consider cutting back to this other node, and I think I will. So this guy goes straight out. I could bend him a little bit, but I don't think it's worth it at the moment. Although it'd make this one go straight out. But the last two branches are this guy, these two guys, and this one right here. And these don't have too much to do. I think I'm gonna leave the back one alone, and we'll connect this one right here with the tip. And see if we can make some movement in that branch. So our last one of the night. So this is just going to wrap around a couple of times. Lots of support there on that branch. We typically want to get around at least once and a half to provide some support. So I'm smushing a few of the needles, but I'm trying to not smush any of the buds. So we're going to be careful not to do the buds. And I'm going to come around this last one, always trying to end up with our wire. And so this movement here is going to be subtle, right? To the back maybe, down a little bit right there. So from the front, we're going to go that way a little bit and then bend it back away from us a little bit. And now, because of where this branch is growing and how thick it is, we're going to go ahead and cut this one right off. And we have these two, one here, little one, and these two right here, and we'll see how they take off next year. And then we left this one alone and this one alone. We can mess with those later. And now we got the tip to decide what we're going to do with. little branch there I don't want to cut off. And I'm just going to make a little bit lesser tight coil here, just a small kind of coil that doesn't tight. The wiring at the top here is not as tight to the branch. So again, this is that tip design that I'm still really not sure of myself on how to create that tip. A lot of people bend stuff down to get some of that tip look. But we have a branch going this way, we have a branch going this way, and this one up here. And I got a back bud here on my finger here we did not destroy. And we'll have to see what happens next year. And so I think we will just call it for the night. This is a good place to stop. After stepping back and taking a peek at it and giving it a spin around, I'm happy with the way the tree looks for right now. Ooh, the mosquitoes are coming out. So here we go with a final turn. We're looking at the side of the tree, that's the back of the tree, and then we have the front of the tree. Both sides could be the front of this tree, but there's a little less scarring on that tree, that side rather, and you see this scar less. So there is the Korean fir, all ready to just sit tight now here. We'll put this one possibly in the cold frame this year if I have room to take care of this one. Did really well this year. I don't want any critters getting at this one. We'll have to wait and see how things go. And then next year, we hope we get a whole bunch of growth in the spring. And then after the first push, we'll do some trimming back, and then hope that second push will keep it compact and spread out with some ramification. Fantastic. It's been a little while since I worked on a tree. This was the first week back to school for me. Teacher by day, bonsai every other time of the day, right? So I'm back at work, and it was a long work week, and this hour or so working with this tree has just eased my mind, and I'm already ready to go back in a day and a half here when we go back on Monday. I'm all set for that. All right, this makes me feel great. Hey, thanks for watching. Take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you on the next one.